All right, well, I don't know how to fucking intro it, so may as well just start. We're basically four college kids who used to do radio, and we started our own podcast. My name's Justin. I'm joined by Jesse, Joe, and Steve. And primarily we do normally sports, so that's what we're going to stick to. Guys, how's quarantine, I guess?
Hey, man, it's passing. It's finally starting to pass, I feel. I was like, it's becoming the new norm, if you get what I'm saying. The new Norman.
We're a couple weeks out from sports, so it's a little bit easier now.
We're in between right now. I feel like I know some people who are on lockdown. They won't go out. And then I know some people that are going to fall on, like, they're hosting mosh pits in their basement and like kissing each other just for the sake of doing it. So I don't really know what quarantine is like right now.
I went on a walk last night about 8 o'clock.
It was so nice out yesterday.
It was so nice. Went out with masks on. We were about the only ones with masks on.
Yeah.
Nobody else was wearing masks.
That's not good. That's not good.
There were like kids like playing on a park, like playground set, no masks. At least 10 kids.
Have you seen it where it's like you'll be walking and you'll see parents not wearing masks and their kids not wearing masks either? Yeah. Like, at least give them a kid.
It's the parents' fault, for sure.
No, that's like, I have like a cloth mask and it's fine. Like the only time it gets like, I guess, uncomfortable to wear is like if I drink water and I get it wet, because then it just like sits on your mouth.
Yeah.
But like wearing a mask isn't a problem, you know?
Just cover your face, honestly. Just, do us all a favor. It's not for yourself, it's for other people, if we're being honest. Like, I don't want your junk in my system. Like,
I hope you don't want anyone's junk in your system, Clarke.
No.
But, we've been kind of bored and we've been mulling the idea of starting a podcast since, we all have radio experience and two of us graduated and don't know really what's going on with work. And Jesse, you're getting ready to leave, and Joe, you're, who knows, you might switch one more time your major. But, we had a platform at our college radio station at William Patterson to, talk sports all the time, and since we're not really allowed to be there right now, this is, I guess, our platform because we're taught how to edit and whatnot. And it's not that hard, for God's sakes. We're just recording in Skype and throwing it on YouTube. So who knows how often we'll do this. Right now, maybe once a week, twice a week, depending on the sports calendar and what happens. Because we were throwing the idea around like 2 months ago, Joe. And like I wasn't really motivated to it at that point because there was nothing really going on. But, since baseball is attempting to play a preseason Subway Series in New York, at least this weekend, at least we have something. And the NBA is starting in 2 weeks, I think, the 4th?
Yes, 3rd? The 30th, I believe, is when games start.
Yeah. And baseball is literally next week for opening day, so at least there's something to at least get ready for. In the WWE, they've just been chugging along, but not the greatest way either, considering it took them 5 months to put in a mask policy that their own wrestler, who was one of their top guys, basically yelled at them to do. And then he still wouldn't stick around. Yeah. But where do you guys want to start?
Let's start with what's coming up first, I'd say. Start with baseball.
All right.
That's first off.
So, we're Jesse's instantly just going to check out right now. So the big news is, several players, I guess, kind of, opting out of not playing.
Yeah.
At what point, though, because, if Mike Trout, he's still on the fence. He's at camp, but he hasn't officially, he's like, I'm not sure what's going on yet, right? And the NBA is in the same scenario, but but they've had major players test positive for COVID, while the MLB, the players that have tested, like a DJ LeMahieu, Aroldis Chapman, they're important to the team, but overall to the league, they're not big stars. The MLB, they can't pull the plug if, say, Mike Trout gets it, or he opts out. They need a full outbreak almost.
That's sad. That's sad if you think about that. That you need the entire, say, half the teams in the league to get COVID for it to be canceled. I think they need, what the NBA is doing. They need a bubble or something. They can't be traveling all over the United States, playing at their home stadiums, playing all over. Having one remote location is such a great idea, and I think they have to implement that pretty soon, honestly.
And it's like they're doing the super divisions. You play your American League rival, your interleague rival in the National League, and vice versa. But it's like, if you have a team, the Blue Jays have to go to Miami. How's that limiting travel?
That's still insane travel. That's just insane travel.
And I don't know if they're going to be allowed back in to Toronto. Yeah. There was some talks of the Toronto government's not going to be welcoming them back with open arms, and they might have to self-quarantine, and then boom. I mean, They just opt out of the entire season? Do they find
Exactly.
I think there's also a difference between like Mike Trout and the MLB and the NBA because at least from what my limited knowledge of baseball, the Angels have never been title contenders or at least title favorites. So
Especially
Trout's
recently,
kind of
yeah.
like I'm on the fence. LeBron and like Giannis and those guys are like, we want to play. We need to determine who the champion is. While MLB is still like hasn't even started kind of their season. The NBA is trying to wrap theirs up.
Well, that's the issue. MLB took so long to get started between the pissing match between the owners and the players that, it's almost at the point of no return where they have to attempt to play somehow, even if you have like AAA, AA players on the roster playing in the playoffs. They can't stop.
So my question is, does this season count? Like in your books, like say somehow the Orioles win the World Series. Somehow, it's not going
Could
to
be a
happen.
miracle.
But somehow, do you consider that a World Series victory, even though it's a shortened season and all that?
I think regardless of who wins, it's legit.
Yeah.
Because you're still going out there, you're still competing, you're still playing. Granted, being taken out for 2 weeks because of coronavirus, opposed to twisting an ankle, two completely different reasons. But at the same time, it's a player who's on the disabled list. But obviously it's more extenuating circumstances. But I think it's legit. Same thing with the NBA and the NHL. It's legit.
As much as people want to say like, oh, this deserves an asterisk or something like that, just real quick, what championship teams can you guys think of that like have asterisks?
The Astros.
Like, well, yeah, but that's because they cheated.
I was about to say
like,
Patriots
but like
because they cheated
extenuating
too.
circumstances on the season, like the Spurs in '99. Nobody remembers that was a lockout season. Like at the time, people were like, "Oh, who knows if this one counts?" But it does. Nobody.
What does it
thinks,
matter?
Like,
you're still playing the same competition.
Yeah, everyone's in the same boat. It's not like you're special for only playing 60 games. Like everyone's doing the exact same thing. That's the thing, too.
I do think the MLB has the most case for an asterisk because they're playing significantly way less games than they have before.
Yeah.
So
the NBA, they're sticking to the normal playoff format, and they're just doing, all right, here's a few qualifying games, get ready.
Yeah.
Meanwhile, the NHL is just going right into the playoffs. But see, the NHL, they're doing the bubble in Edmonton and I think it's Toronto or Vancouver, some other Canadian city.
Oh, Canada.
They're doing two bubbles outside of America. And what does that say about how they feel about playing in this country?
Exactly. It's not safe. Exactly. No, they're smart in a way. Like even with UFC, they have Fight Island now. Like that's genius. Just get far away from here as possible and just do your profession where it's safe. But
yeah,
not everyone can do
there's
that, obviously.
places all across the world like New Zealand and they're allowing fans back in. We're not even close.
Because fans at games should be a reward for, everyone doing what they're told and just help get this over with faster.
Yeah, no, I agree. You're right.
I think the big difference between the NBA trying to come back and a league like the MLB and the NHL is that if there's 2 to 3 cases in the NBA that if they contracted coronavirus, the entire league's marketing would shut down. It is so predicated. Like you saw LeBron have an injury-plagued season last year in Los Angeles, and ratings took a nosedive. Steph Curry hurt all season. Ratings took a nosedive. Imagine if Giannis had to leave the bubble, and at the same time, LeBron had another injury, or LeBron also had to leave the bubble. Then your entire league is basically gone. Your two marketable teams and stars are gone. MLB, Mike Trout opts out. I mean, there was a time last year when Aaron Judge and Christian Yelich, probably two of the best players and the two most marketable players, were not on the field. And you didn't even see the ratings dip or go down at all.
Well, that's exactly it, though. I feel like the NBA, for their championship to count it as, not legit or anything like that, there's 5 or 6 players that if they get taken out and have to leave because of COVID, that can easily, hinder the legitimacy of that title. Like, say Giannis and the Bucks steamroll their way to the finals, right? LeBron and the Lakers get there. Anthony Davis, LeBron James both can't play because of COVID-19.
Yeah.
But at the same time, though, what?
Then where is Kawhi Leonard's asterisk for last year's?
That's what I was just about to bring up. How literally the Warriors were riddled with injuries up and down the entire roster.
Exactly.
So that's why I feel like depending on who wins is where you'll see the most people bitching about if it's legit or not.
Exactly.
Well, I think that's fair to a degree because, like, let's say somehow, some way, like, the Celtics make it to the finals and win it. Would they have won on a normal setting? Probably not.
Probably not. No.
I don't think there's any way that you could make the argument that they're going to beat any of the teams in the West. But if you count COVID as an injury, then, I mean, it gets a little bit more dicey because, like Joe said, the Warriors were battered last year in the finals, and nobody takes that finals win away from Kawhi.
No.
But you also have to look at it because, I mean, we're talking about this just assuming that the players are a video game and that they can't just pick it up and go back in full intensity as they would in a normal day. Like, you just paused the game, so to speak. That's not the way it's going to be.
No.
You're going to have some players who are not in game shape right away in every single league, and you're also going to have guys that are not going to take it as seriously. You can't just assume that there's going to be the same level of intensity because first of all, there's no crowd, and that has a lot to do with it. And also,
home means nothing.
And they also probably think that this is an illegitimate publicity stunt, or at least some of them do, and that's going to affect, how hard they actually go for it.
So something I'm expecting from the MLB, especially when they're starting up, I think they're going to have injuries because they're playing such a shortened season. Every game matters so much more. There was an ESPN article I seen a couple weeks ago about how many of the World Series champions at Game 60 wouldn't have even been in the playoffs.
The Nationals had like 10 wins last year.
Yeah.
They're like 19 and 20 and like 30 something.
Then they just kicked up.
So every game matters more, and they're coming off of obviously less work and less training camp. Don't be surprised if they have an abundance of injuries when it first starts out. The NBA, I also expect, is probably going to have an abundance of injuries. Maybe not major injuries, but at least sprains and, hamstring stuff like that players normally get throughout the year, now being forced out of playing for 3-4 months, then being thrown back in with only 2 weeks of training camp.
Well, that's the thing. Like in the MLB, majority of the teams, like New York, Baltimore, the East especially, even out West, it gets really hot out there. And teams, they start playing in March and they slowly get their bodies ramped up to playing in cold weather, to warmer weather, to hot weather. Mm-hmm. So to go, right away and have to start playing in the dead of summer, that won't be easy. That's if you're not acclimated to the heat, it's going to suck.
Texas is going through a heat wave right now. It's basically over 100 everywhere in Texas, like for the next 2 weeks. So how are players going to respond to that?
Here's the flip side of this. The first one is that they have expanded rosters to 30, and there will be a lot of pitching. I think every team is going to stack up their pitching. And I don't see anyone who's going to be starting the first turn through the rotation going more than 5 innings. Number two is that at this point in the season, they have already played 80 to 100 games.
Yeah.
At this point in the season. Now they're going to be completely fresh going into August. I mean, this could be, at first it's probably going to be sloppy, but if really you get into, the middle end of August, mm-hmm. and you've got guys who are now just starting to heat up on fresher legs than they would be at any other time or any other year. I mean, we could see still some of the best baseball we've ever seen.
For sure. I agree.
My thing is, why are they going to have a trade deadline? What is the point of this? Say the Mets are out of it for some reason, right? And the Diamondbacks are making a run in Arizona. How are you going to pack up Marcus Stroman and ship him out to Arizona, he could literally just say, I don't want to go there because who knows, if Arizona is still spiking at that point, or a team sending a player out of Miami, out of like Florida, out of Tampa Bay or Miami, and sending them who knows where. Like, if you get that player, are they going to have to quarantine then for 2 weeks? And at that point, you're in the
it's worthless
playoffs almost.
then. Yeah, literally. Like, it's hard. It's a really tricky situation. There's like no right answer in this way, if we're being honest. If you do the trade stuff like that happens. But if you don't, then teams could complain and be like, oh, we wanted to make trades and whatnot. But it's just a very like iffy situation just because of what's going on. It's not fair to any party in this situation.
Yeah, I don't really think that we're gonna see very many trades.
Yeah, I agree. I don't think we're gonna see pretty much any, or like any. I don't think any players that could change the outlook of the playoffs. I don't think they're gonna get moved, especially because this is such a shortened season.
Because really, like realistically, and I think teams are not gonna go for it if they don't think they can. I think there are probably, and generous in the estimate, 7-8 teams who legitimately are going to think that they could win it. And anything beyond that, I think there's going to be 20 teams at least that are just taking this year just to see what we got. Like take a look at the prospect, give him some run at first base, let him try some stuff out in left field. Like there's not going to be a lot of middling teams. Last year there was about, I'm going to say, 80 teams that had a shot for that wild card spot in the National League, maybe even 90 teams, and like they were all going for it. And now all of a sudden, like it's like this year, what's really the point?
Well, Joe, what you brought up interesting to me is like the prospects, right? Because the taxi squad, we're seeing a lot of teams that are rebuilding, like the Orioles and Miami and so forth, where they're putting their higher touted prospects on the taxi squad to at least get them some form of just reps this season. And at the same time, do they want to play them or at least risk playing them enough to where they could get the full year of service time? Because after 40 games, I think it is, they get 1 year of service time clocked in. Is it really worth that long? I think at that point, then you might just see them playing like 15 to 20 games just to get them some in-game reps. Because why start that clock now in a minimal season when you could save it for next year and get a full 162 out of them?
Yeah, no, I completely agree. And that's why this is the biggest win for the players in the situation, is that this year does count as a full year of service time. So they can't get gypped in that way. If you're owed free agent money after this season, you're going to get free agent money.
Yeah.
And a lot of people are saying that there's going to be, the owners are going to hold this against them, when it comes to big contracts going forward. But I don't see that. I see an agent like Scott Boras being like, he's coming off of a 60-game season and he's completely healthy. Like, show me the money.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's a win for the players. It's definitely a win.
And the thing is, too, a team like the Dodgers, right? They send, some prospects over and a major leaguer and Alex Verdugo over to Boston to go get Mookie Betts. Obviously, they got strapped with the David Price contract also at that point. Now, Price obviously opted out, and it's like they only get 6 games of Mookie Betts. They need to win at this point.
Because it's must win. Yeah.
They're getting minimal use out of him, and they need to win at that point.
They also get a window if they don't win in a 60-game season. They are still the first team that has right to negotiate with him. So there is going to be a window where it's, they get to talk to Mookie Betts and no other team is allowed to contact them. It doesn't seem like, it means a lot, but if they can roll out this Godfather-like offer to Mookie Betts before any other team, maybe even the Mets or the Braves, gets to talk to him, giving them the leg up. You let him see the culture in Los Angeles for a year. What it's like. Legends walking around that spring training facility. I think it goes a long way.
Yeah.
So, Clarke, you're obviously wearing a little Mets shirt over there.
Uh-oh.
What a surprise. Back in the news for the Mets, DeGrom's getting an MRI.
Scary.
Not sure what's going on for opening day next week at this point.
I just got Bleacher Report telling me
he feels good.
It's a quote. He feels good.
Feels good.
All right.
Joel Sherman, New York Post.
It's just, I've seen this story before. I've seen this with a Met guy getting injured, and just all the upside and downside to it. Usually, majority of the time, downside. But if the MRIs came back good, then that's a great sign to start. Hopefully, they're catching everything. They're not missing anything at all. Because we know what happened with Harvey and all that garbage and Cespedes and David Wright. We have a history of just not catching things the first time around, and then they go for another MRI. Oh, this happened, and oh, you have to have back surgery now. Like, I don't know. I'm hopeful. I don't think he should pitch opening day. I think they're to give it to Syndergaard just to make sure. Maybe have him a couple games later. I don't know. I don't know if he's going to be ready.
Well,
be ready.
Didn't Syndergaard tears UCL?
Oh, Syndergaard's out. My bad.
Yeah. See, you're used to having Syndergaard.
Right. You're right.
I guess you'd have to go Stroman.
Stroman,
Porcello,
and Waka. What a rotation.
And then Matz. You talk about what a rotation. Meanwhile, it's not bad.
It's not the best, but it's not the worst.
That is better than the Brewers rotation.
For sure.
It is better than the Brewers rotation, Justin Valentovic. It's better than the Diamondbacks. The Milwaukee Brewers, better than the Diamondbacks. I mean, we're talking about teams that are on the fringe, sort of like first, second wild card sort of teams. I mean, you put DeGrom, Stroman, Porcello. I mean, three guys who have, two Cy Young winners, and Stroman has come, very close to winning a Cy Young himself.
Yeah.
It's not bad.
Stroman needs to get more credit too. I think Stroman's very good. He just started off bad in New York, but he's still very, very good pitcher.
Well, that's the thing. He was shipped to them last year at the deadline?
Last year. Yeah, before the deadline. He was like the first.
Like one of the first, yeah.
And at the same time, he's a guy pitching for a contract too. And with it being a shortened season, he's probably only getting 5-10 starts, maybe max, anywhere between there. So he needs to make everything count. So if he's motivated to get paid by not even just the Mets, anybody,
he's gonna go all out.
He's got to try to show out.
Yeah,
and he loves New York. He wants to stay.
He wants to stay. He
loves Long Island guy.
He's pitching to show the Wilpons.
Or the Cohens, or
Travis Kelce and A-Rod, that squad.
Let's just talk about that for a second.
Oh, I love that. I love that.
What was going on? The fact that it was like, okay, it's A-Rod, J-Lo, and investment bankers. And then 3 days ago, it came out, Brian Urlacher, Travis Kelce, fucking Bradley Beal. Everybody, it seems like every active player wants to buy a team.
Anyone but the Wilpons at this point. I don't care. It could be the entire Chiefs team. So Travis Kelce can get all of his boys there.
I mean, Mahomes can afford the team himself probably at this point.
Hey, Mahomes, his dad was a Met. That's fine. Get Mahomes on board. Let's go.
I'm looking at Bezos taking over the Washington football team, and then and I'm looking at the entire Shark Tank team.
Oh no, Cuban's not getting another team.
Cuban's already got his own team.
Cuban's already got a team.
Hey, the more the merrier.
I'm talking Mr. Wonderful and A-Rod going hand in hand. And dogging. I could say dogging.
Fucking word.
Yeah.
But
we don't have to worry about the FCC on this.
We know what Jeter did to the Marlins. I just hope that A-Rod doesn't do that to us. That's all I'm hoping.
You act like Jeter ruined the Marlins. First of all,
well, he did
He traded the albatross that was the Stanton contract. Felice the Yankees, baseball Yankees on that one.
He traded a future MVP away.
Okay.
Yelich.
If you look at what Yelich was doing,
he was just a slap-hitting contact guy.
Yeah, I mean, he was a glorified Tommy Edman when they traded him.
He was just in the wrong system then.
Wrong system. This isn't. This isn't Bill Parcells. I don't know how to talk system.
I don't know. I just hope anything better than the Wilpons, for being honest. So
you want Cohen though.
I want Cohen, but I'll take anything if they sell the team.
You're not the baseball guy.
He is.
On the Sunday night broadcast, he says this every single broadcast. He just says, baseball. And that's how you know.
That's how you know.
Guy.
Anyone but the Wilpons. I'm sitting here saying it.
Either way, the Wilpons, I think, are gone regardless. Because yeah. But, Cohen, he's going to have the checkbook to just sign everybody, though.
Good. Give us Smokey. We need outfielders. We don't have anything right now.
You need a center fielder. You got plenty of outfielders. You just need a center fielder.
We have outfielders.
You have
people
not
like to play anywhere.
Beltran, a legitimate center field threat since Carlos Beltran.
Yeah.
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 Harris was good for like a season.
He was just a glove.
He made one great catch.
Literally, and I have a T-shirt of that catch.
And he like bobbled it, and like it wasn't even a good catch. It was a luck.
He was okay, but yeah, Beltran was. I agree, the last great.
All right, well, it's clear Jesse doesn't give a shit about baseball. So let's talk about something you're interested in.
How could you?
Well, you haven't spoken in like 10 minutes. The NFL.
I'll say this about baseball.
What?
Do you guys think if the ratings go up, and it's like a 60-game season, everything's really intense. Mm-hmm. Do they shorten the season down to like?
Nope.
That's the only way it would get me interested. 162 games is way too many. It's way too many.
There's one reason, and it's that baseball. Money. No, it's not even the money. It's that baseball is so obsessed with numbers, statistics, with history, with the record books. They have basically made their entire thing like this, like these magic numbers. And if you shorten the season, that's going to skew the record books and make things unbreakable, and breaking records is what, in the MLB's mind, people want to see.
Well, that was the whole thing. Like when they went to 162, they're like, all right, do these records count now? Like when McGuire eventually broke the, Maris's record, it's like, well, he had 8 more games or however many more. So
that's like even with like the NBA, like when they added the 3-point line, like the old scoring title, or they bet they were saying that scoring title still matter. It just, things change over time, and
I think you need to let things change and let things adapt. It's obvious. Baseball, as much as you guys love it, you cannot say that there is not a problem that the younger generation just does not want to watch baseball.
If things we're in the change, it should be to help the players.
I'll watch baseball highlights. I will not watch a baseball.
Well, that's the thing. It's in the highlight generation where, watching a 3-hour game is just too long for some people. I mean, I check out sometimes, and I watch the Orioles 100 times a year, which makes me want to. But, it's the fact that they need more offense, and that's why we saw the juice ball last year to try to get people back.
They want to see stars. They want to see guys who can host SNL and hold up their favorite pop. Like, they don't want to see Mike Trout and, like, predict the weather, Like, they want to see guys having fun.
What's the thing? You gotta let the personality show through.
Let them be characters.
Baseball has always struggled with letting it become a players' league more than any other organization. The NBA has always been a players' league. The NFL is shifting more towards a players' league. But baseball is just like, no.
Well, it's all the old heads. It's all the old heads who are like the unwritten rules, the traditions of baseball. It's a kid's game, for God's sake.
I'm not going to say that it's
my 7-year-old nephews play baseball. Don't tell me about the unwritten rules. Who cares?
It's not about the sport itself. Because if you condense all of the action into a baseball game and all of the action into a football game, it's the same amount of time that there's action. So it's not about the way baseball is played.
I think we need to get umpire Joe Monroy as a special guest one time to give his opinion on this.
It's how it's presented is the issue. Is really what it is. That's where Manfred's screwing around and trying to make it shorter. Joe's going to go take a bathroom break, so that's why he just kind of left. He texted me. He's like, "What's the protocol?" I'm like, "Just go, like just leave."
Leave.
No, but that's where you got Manfred screwing around with the rules. That's the dumbest. Can we talk about that real quick before we go to the NFL? The runner on second base rule in extra innings. That is the dumbest. That is so stupid. That's at the point though. Like, I'm fine with the universal DH. Like, I don't like the 3 batter minimum for a pitcher. I understand it sort of, but once you add the runner on second base, you're just killing the essence of baseball.
Literally, just think a pass ball, he gets to third. A single.
You're asking for it to be over immediately.
Literally, a sack fly.
At that point, I'd rather them just call the game a freaking tie for this season then.
Yeah.
At that point, just call it a tie.
Add ties for the season. I agree.
If they're worried about players, playing too long, just call it a tie. Just play 2 extra innings, play the 10th and the 11th, and that's it, and then call it a tie.
I went to that Mets game like a couple years back. That was like 18 innings or whatever. Yeah. I was brutal.
I've been to a few long ones where they end at like 2 a.m. and it's just like anything at this point.
Brutal.
You're just rooting for the game to be over. At that point, you're like, I got 158 more games. I don't care who wins.
Yeah, that's the problem with extra innings in baseball compared to overtime in any other sport. Overtime in any other sport is like, oh, thank God, like this is going to be exciting. And then baseball extra innings, you're in like the 13th inning, and you're like, oh my God, I don't care. somebody just win, please.
But the thing with that game is, it was like one of the last games of the season around then too. Daniel Murphy, he threw me this glove.
You have a Daniel Murphy batting
I have
glove?
a Daniel Murphy batting glove.
Homophobic glove right there.
It's all used.
That's before he came back and haunted you guys for 5 seasons.
Before he turned up too in the playoffs.
He
What
turned
do
into
you think
almost
a Chris Davis glove is on Amazon? I'll send it to your house, Justin.
Ridiculous.
Nope.
Chris Davis ball. 7 years ago today. It was also.
Oh, joy.
So that's what I got my Chris Davis ball from.
Look into that. Look into Daniel. He's
Hit a lot of home runs that year.
Yeah. So let's talk about the NFL then. Was that the Chris Davis ball?
The Chris Davis ball.
Burn it. There's no. He ain't hitting too many of those this season. He's hitting like 3.
Oh.
No, he's so fucking terrible. He's
It
not
was
good.
literally just the one or 2 seasons he was good.
Yeah, and then they paid him
Yeah,
for
and
$5
they
a
paid-
year, 7
paid
years.
money.
They're still paying him for another 3.
Phenomenal.
It's like
It's
signing
terrible.
Devin Funchess to a big contract.
Okay, that was at least 1 year. He broke his collarbone in 2 games. That was it. What,
I mean,
Clarke?
It was 1 year. Like, that's fine. He's
It was 1 year.
gone.
Who cares? It's done.
He's
So,
gone now.
Speaking of contracts, a lot of people are starting to get their money. Patrick Mahomes obviously got his, stake in the franchise almost at that point. It's the only thing that they didn't put in the contract. Derrick Henry got paid yesterday, was it?
Yeah.
For
Yeah,
4 years.
'cause the
4 years, 50 mil.
Franchise tag deadline was yesterday.
And then Myles Garrett got 5 years, 125. And then some other Chris Jones got paid too. He got 4 years,
I
That was
80
big.
something.
That was big for the Chiefs.
Yeah.
So there's one contract of a player who have yet to get paid or even offered, and that's Dak Prescott. And did you guys see the tweet from his brother too? He's like, I didn't root for the Cowboys before Dak, and I'm not sure how much longer I'll be rooting for them.
I'll tell you,
so-
not much longer. Just this season, he'll be rooting for Dak on the Cowboys because he's not going to be there next year.
He's not going to be there.
Not going to be there.
There was a report they haven't been close in negotiations since August of last year, 2019. I mean, he doesn't want to play under the franchise tag. There's a disconnect between the Cowboys and Dak that I think most people feel the same way about as well. You like Dak as a quarterback, but do you pay him $35 million a year?
He's good, but he's not that good.
Is he so? But this is the other thing. The problem I have with them not giving him his money. It's not like Dak is over the hill. It's not like he's on the wrong
He's
side
like
of
20,
30.
what,
He's
25?
like
His
27, I
hairline
believe.
might look it, but he's not.
So the best season for the Cowboys at the quarterback in recent memory is Tony Romo's 34-year-old season. Dak Prescott is 27.
He's 26, 27 in 2 weeks.
Yes. So I get that you don't want to give him big money, but also, what is your alternative?
Yeah. Like,
That's
they're not.
You have to
Andy
pay.
Dalton. That's your alternative.
You have the best receiving core in the division. Possibly one of the best. Yeah, but I mean, it's still the case. You have to compare yourself.
Yeah.
You have probably the best offensive line in the division. The Eagles are close, but
One of the best offensive lines in the league, period.
yeah, and you have for some time.
Top 2 running
you
back in the
have-
division.
You have a new quarterback guru coach. You have a run game that's legitimate. You have a team that's built that you don't even need a quarterback to carry you. So that's why it's the perfect situation. They can't spend. What are they going to go for the draft? Because any other good quarterback is not going to hit a free agent market.
Well, see, Joe, you kind
Also
of
with the
alluded to it.
draft, who are they going to get? If like you said, all those good things, they're going to be in the playoffs.
They can't just plug
For
a-
sure.
You're not getting Lawrence. You're not getting Fields.
They need a guy who can just carry them and get them. Like
Andy Dalton.
Case Keenum. They want a Case Keenum. They want
but
a
see,
guy that
that's
they're
where-
going to pay $10 million to, and it'll get him to the playoffs.
But see, that's where the disconnect is of why they don't want to pay Dak, because maybe they see him as just a average game managing quarterback who's not worth big money then. But then at that point,
anywhere else you're going to get someone, whether it's a rookie or anyone in the free agent market, will lose you games. Dak is not going to lose you any games.
no.
Might not-
I believe he has the lowest turnover rate of like any quarterback in the league.
losing you football games, and that's why I think that you give him the money. It's what you want. You have the 4th round draft pick.
Yeah.
Got by
But see,
without paying him.
and the thing is, he's still 26, 27. You sign him to a 5-year deal. Okay, you cut bait when he's 32. That's fine. You know, like you're not locked in until he's age 43.
Well, I mean, also you already if we're comparing these like, you know, a little bit of apples and oranges here, they gave Zeke his money.
Oh,
and
for
there's
sure.
way more concern
And
about Zeke
Cooper.
breaking down.
And
Yeah.
Cooper.
Yeah. But like Zeke's mass touches, in 2 years he could be obsolete. He could be a bad running back on a bad contract. Also, Zeke's not a great receiver.
No.
There
And that's
is
where we see the NFL going. You need to be able to do both.
Both, yeah.
There's nothing that Dak does to a degree that I think warrants him not getting paid. He's won games. He doesn't throw the ball away. He doesn't give the other team opportunities.
Yeah.
I mean, I just don't. What quarterback are you going to get on the open market or, I don't know, acquire via trade or something that is going to do what Dak does for, even if you're hoping for half the money?
That's exactly what I'm saying.
Yeah.
And also, when you're talking about the Cowboys, there is an elephant in the room that has to be addressed and that no other franchise has to deal with. And that's the fact that Jerry Jones has a big personality and he's difficult.
Yeah.
And you're not going to find any quarterback that's just going to go in there and be compatible with that or be able to put up with all that nonsense.
And let's talk about the fact that Dak, at every turn, has supported Jerry Jones. He's done everything Jerry Jones could possibly want.
He's never alluded to a holdout. He's never had any off-the-field issues. You know, he's literally been the perfect poster boy for the Dallas Cowboys.
The worst thing he did was hold a birthday party.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's it.
Yeah. Meanwhile, Zeke got his money, and Zeke said for basically about a year that he was not going to play if they didn't pay him.
Yeah.
And consistently kept saying he would go somewhere else, or, you know, Dak hasn't done any of that. So if, as far as like unwritten rules go and everything, Dak's followed them all.
Dak's the model player, if we're being honest then.
He's been the good soldier. He's been doing literally everything by the book and not being a pain in the ass.
And the thing about Dak, a lot of people don't really give him credit for it. He's clutch. He's got that Brady fourth quarter in him. I mean, you couldn't really see it last year because there were just a couple games that they just couldn't get anything going, and a lot of that had to do with Jason Garrett's coaching.
You know how hot they started off too.
When they their games against the AFC East were some of the worst coached games I have seen ever from an offensive point of view. I'm talking the Jets game, the Bills game, and the Patriots game were just brutal to watch for Dallas.
And, you know, I saw a thing where 3 quarterbacks have played on the franchise tag. Drew Brees did it once, and Cousins did it twice. You know, Brees stuck around. Cousins didn't. You know, there's 1 or 2 options for Dak, and if he has to play on the tag twice, I don't see them bringing him back.
Dak is closer to Kirk than he is to Brees, I think, as a talent.
Yes, but if you're telling me I can either have Dak or Kirk Cousins, it's Dak. I think it's Dak by far.
Yep, for sure.
Easy and away for me, because at least you can make an argument for Dak that he's a top 10 quarterback. If you tell me Kirk Cousins is a top 10 quarterback, I'll laugh in your face.
You can make the argument.
Oh, he's a top 10 regular season quarterback, I guess you could maybe say. But the second Kirk Cousins smells the playoffs or prime time, he's a top 32 quarterback.
For sure.
He won a game.
He won a game on a miracle pass.
He made probably maybe the best pass of the 2019 playoffs. That deep lob in overtime, possibly probably the best pass.
But you're telling me if you could have Dak or Kirk Cousins on the same contract,
taking Dak for sure.
I'm saying I'm taking Dak, but I'm saying there's not a big.
Kirk's not bad. That's the thing. What he's trying to say too. Kirk is good for what he is in a way. He's not bad in any sense.
He's a slightly stronger armed Alex Smith in San Francisco.
Okay, I like the comparison.
Yeah, but the fact that Minnesota had to tear it down for him to just keep an above average Alex Smith.
Yeah.
You might as well have rolled with Case Keenum. Which is maybe what Dallas
they should have kept. They should have kept Keenum to begin with, but, you know, that's here nor there, because maybe then they would have paid Diggs and actually won it.
Bridgewater, you know.
Yeah, well, he's over in where the fuck is he now?
Carolina.
Yeah.
The judge. No, Rule. The Rule.
Yeah, rules.
That division's gonna be fun.
Dude,
Just fun in general.
all the quarterbacks just like moved around each other's teams almost.
It's gonna be interesting because I want to see my boy Tom does. I want to see if Drew can still compete with them in the division, which they probably will still compete.
I'm so ready. There's the Brady fanboys have made this season so easy to just make an excuse. You know, new team, new division, no OTAs, no practice. He's 43.
Yeah.
No, but Brady is at the most advantage out of anybody in the league. I don't care what anybody says. He's been in the league longer than anybody. Oh, he has to learn a new offense. Brady is the new offense.
Literally,
he knows
they'll
what he's
build it around him. They'll build it around him. Oh,
Yeah.
He has pretty deep threats for his
for
top-
his
yeah.
15-yard arm.
Yeah, like I don't know if Mike Evans is gonna be able to get open for those like his little dump offs. Like I really don't.
Godwin's gonna be burning down the field like 15 yards from the cornerback, and Brady's gonna be like, I can't throw you that. I can't make it there.
They do that.
So a major thing that's been going around the NFL is the Redskins rebrand and now possible scandal. Joe, I'm illiterate, so read the thing I just sent you.
Nice. Okay, so this is from Brian Zog, who posted this, what looks like a Washington football team like Facebook thing. So this is from a nobody. So take this as nobody. NFL news, according to insiders and anonymous Washington Post employees, an article's coming out that will allege that Dan Snyder abuses drugs and alcohol. No real shock there. Snyder paid off refs, which if you paid off refs, I would expect better results.
That one makes no sense.
Some refs have made $2 million from him. And Snyder is not the only team owner paying off refs. Others do it too. Snyder and former Redskins coach Jay Gruden, brother of John Gruden, pimped out, like I feel like he's well established. Pimped out their cheerleaders to season ticket holders while holding their passports from them in a foreign country. Jay Gruden and then Redskins running back Capri Bibbs were sleeping with the same woman. When Jay found out, he got petty and benched Bibbs. During that game, when Bibbs was on the bench, Bibbs' replacement missed a block, and that resulted in quarterback Alex Smith suffering a broken leg. Alex hasn't been able to play football ever since. Snyder and Gruden would hold sex parties with rampant drug uses and some sexual assaults. Snyder held nude photo shoots with the Redskins cheerleaders. Lawyers are already involved, and possibly the FBI.
First of all, just take this with a grain of salt because we don't know what's true and what's not true. First of all.
So but the cheerleader stuff I have seen in multiple
I've heard
places.
about that.
I have heard multiple things about the cheerleaders situation there. And they would always do topless photo shoots with Snyder. At least that's been reported from what I've seen. I mean, again, take it with a grain of salt, but it kind of makes sense why Jake Gruden lasted so long there with absolutely no results.
If 25% of that stuff is true, that's still insane.
That's pretty damning.
Right.
Well, the worst one is not the worst, obviously, the sexual assault, but the most damning to the league itself is paying off the refs.
To the league?
Yeah, that's to the league. The most damning of fucking human crime is the sexual assault cases and all the sexual crimes that are being alleged. That should be fucking life in prison.
Oh, for sure.
The most damning to the NFL, is paying off the refs. Drugs and alcohol, Jim Irsay did that for fucking... He still probably does it, for God's sake.
Jim Irsay's been caught with cocaine in his car like 3 times.
He bought drugs with Colts team money, for God's sake. That's here nor there. But if they paid off refs, first off, I expect them to actually win a fucking playoff game. Or at least make the playoffs, or at least be 500, for God's sakes. But if they're paying off refs, those refs are fucked. Every other league, it's literally could kill the credibility of the league then.
So could we make the case that the Vikings paid off the refs now?
Yes, you can make that case. But also, when you look at these leaks, I mean, we can sit here and say that they're true, not true, have a debate or whatever, but There's 32 NFL franchises. There's over 100 professional sports organizations in the big four major sports. You're not seeing these leaks or these posts coming out about any of them.
If there was going to be a team that I'm not shocked that this is coming out about, it is the Washington Redskins.
This doesn't surprise me that it'd be the Redskins.
They have been so badly ran, even just as a sports team, right? Bruce Allen was allowed to be the president for over a decade, with the only good thing on his resume being that he drafted RG3 after they traded away multiple picks.
For Shanahan just to run him into the ground.
That is the only good thing that I think you could argue Bruce Allen did in his whole stint with the Redskins, 10 plus years.
But that's when he traded the whole draft, literally.
For RG3, it looked fine.
Who fell in their lap? It wasn't like that was.
Yeah.
He stretched to make the pick. It was, is it Luck or RG3? Luck was off the board. Like you act. That's not an innovative.
It's literally one or the other, whatever's there.
The third quarterback was Ryan Tannehill. And if Tannehill didn't come out, it was going to be Barkley came out, it was going to be Barkley. Russell Wilson was on the board, but if I hear one more team ever say we were going to pick Wilson, but then the Seahawks got out. Shut up. Everybody passed on him at least 2 times.
Yeah, like who's going to take a short Wisconsin quarterback? Like it's the same thing for like Tom Brady. Even,
Yeah.
But
no, you're right.
This whole shitstorm that's coming towards the Redskins also kind of goes hand in hand with the rebrand.
Yeah.
So maybe the owners kind of knew what was coming, and this is their way of cleaning slate and hopefully getting Dan Snyder out.
There were reports coming out before I even seen any of like the allegations and stuff.
When's that Washington Post article dropping?
They said Friday potentially.
I might actually have to get a subscription then to read it.
3 minority owners were trying to get out of Washington before. And some people were chalking that up to they don't want to deal with the whole rebranding and everything like that because you have to pour money into that. So I think if they did want out, and it could be because of the allegations, if 3 minority owners went out that allegedly had made up like 25% of the ownership, and they need to get Snyder out, they need to just get a whole new ownership group.
Just disband the team. Just go to 31 teams.
They would need to disband the team and honestly do like an expansion draft to let off their players.
Just disband the team, relocate a new team somewhere else, and just do a new redraft.
Wipe the Redskins from
I don't want to make any comments, anything about this until I think a credible article gets posted. Right now, it's all speculation, and I think it's not good. It wouldn't be good for us if publicly post this and say all these things as fact.
Well, no, it's all allegations.
We could talk about is their name though, because we know that's coming to a change.
The name it's always been a thing. I've always tried to stray away from calling them by their name because it's always been offensive, and everyone has always known that. And Dan Snyder's obtuseness about it has been ridiculous, has been absolutely ridiculous. And I mean, you're profiting off of racism, and that's it. You're profiting and making a whole brand out of racism.
And I think there can be an argument for like other names, like the Atlanta Braves, let's say, like. Braves is a term that was used like for Native Americans and such, but it doesn't have a bad connotation.
No,
like
or
Brave
the Seminoles.
is good. Like Brave is good,
Or the Seminoles. That was a legitimate tribe in that area.
Or the Chiefs, honestly.
That's a position.
I don't like you using these human beings, especially minority and typically disenfranchised throughout American history people as mascots to throw a logo on and use as like that. Like I mean like you have like I mean like I get it, like the Padres, that's a real thing. It's the Dads. I get that. There's no history. The Indians, like you don't name your team, like your team mascot nickname is not.
Yeah,
they need to change.
And my point is, the
Redskins,
to change too. The Redskins, I feel like, was the most
that was
derogatory term.
Yes.
By far. Like, Native Americans came out and were like, we don't like this.
Yeah.
And Snyder was pretty much just like, I don't care.
I like this.
Yeah.
He would.
It doesn't offend me. You know, like
about them.
They're
on par. Like, they have this history of tradition, like a Lakers, like a Yankees. You know, like, they can't possibly change that name because it's so ingrained in not just football but American history. Meanwhile, they are historically, along with the Arizona Cardinals, one of the worst franchises.
And the Cardinals have much better seasons than I can think of than the Redskins.
In recent memory.
Yeah.
But like the Indians should change their name eventually too. But they're considering it. But at least like they did the first step of getting rid of the Chief Wahoo logo 3-4 years ago.
That's the James Dolan squad, though. You have to remember he's involved.
Yeah. Well, no, it's the other Dolan.
I don't.
It's like a family member. It's a family member of James.
Really?
Yeah, it is. That's why they don't like paying players either. That's why they just let everyone walk. They at least changed their logo to the C, but eventually they'll probably change their name because they've been floating at the idea of it.
But I like their color scheme is a big deal. Do you like Cleveland's color scheme? Just
call them the Spiders and call it a day.
Spiders.
I like that.
Yeah.
I like that.
No, but like the Redskins, like I saw a thing today too that came out that they have 44 trademarks that they could potentially use.
That someone bought all the names.
Yes.
Yeah.
So they're going to be paying that guy for that, which is a genius move.
Smart move.
Genius.
Incredible move.
Like, just call them like the Senators and get it over with.
The
like
Washington Presidents. Like you're in DC. Do something. Like it's not hard.
Well,
you can do so many different things.
The Senators used to be.
Cabinet, like ooh,
the Washington cabinet. Oh, that's actually I like that.
Ooh, the cabinet's coming.
Yeah.
Oh.
It's just a potential shitstorm though is coming their way. It's only time will tell.
Potential.
Washington secretaries.
Secretary. I mean, the Capitol's already a thing. Whatever name they put though, it'll be the dumbest name probably in DC, and that's a city that has the Wizards as a name.
Bullets, baby.
Wizards.
Well, the Wizards are really deep into DC culture. Obviously, they have a history there.
Oh yeah, for sure.
So what else you guys got? What do you want to move to?
What
are you feeling?
I'm gonna say this.
All right, go for it.
The Titans paying Derrick Henry, huge mistake.
Really?
Absolutely huge mistake. Also, them paying Ryan Tannehill, huge mistake.
That's horrible.
That's the gift that keeps on giving.
I'm calling it right now. This is going to go down as a fluke year, where they played well above their expectations, and they're going to sink down to 8-8, probably for the next 2 to 3 years.
Yeah, I was having this conversation the other night. Like, they are lucky. Derrick Henry's a great player, but he is a tad overrated.
He doesn't make catches. Like he's not a receiver.
Look at every year. How long has he been in the league so far? 3 years, is it?
Four.
Look at all the years before this year of what he did. I can't speak. It's nothing compared to what he did this year. It's just one great year he had where they couldn't pass the ball because Tannehill's garbage. So he has to put the team on his back, and once he puts the team on his back, he can succeed.
The way I look at it is like this. Like look at it as an equation. This doesn't work. Ryan Tannehill is the quarterback, and you're asking him not to throw the ball.
Yeah.
And Derrick Henry is the running back, and you're just asking him to run every down so that Tannehill doesn't have to pass. Meanwhile, you are going to give Tannehill $20+ million. Where does that make any sense? Where does that work?
They put a number on their window, and that's 3 years. That's literally what they did.
But it's like what window?
I know.
I feel like they were in a house and they carved out a fake window.
It's
like that was the
Drake and
championship game.
And
they
treehouse door.
They were Super Bowl contenders, but they weren't. They never were Super Bowl contenders.
Yeah, no.
Here's the
Lamar Jackson's receivers don't drop every single ball he throws to them, and John Harbaugh calls a somewhat decent game, the Titans don't come close to the championship game.
I got two things on Tennessee.
Okay.
The first one is you look at the strong suit of the Colts defense, even what
That's
Kansas
so
City
weird to hear.
defense,
Right.
even what Kansas City's defense does well, and the other powerhouses really in the AFC, they're all good up front. They're
Yeah.
all
Yeah.
really like it's the AFC is a passers league. It has been for a very long time, more so than the NFC. NFC, it's easier to win games in the trenches like that. AFC, you got to go over the top. Mahomes, Jackson, Watson, Cam. Now, you like against the Colts, like head to head, they're losing that game if you try to run on the Colts every single time.
Yeah.
You're not winning.
Especially
They
with
just signed-
Buckner now too up front.
Exactly. Chris Jones, big deal with Kansas City.
But
Also,
The
now
Steelers' defensive front. I mean,
exactly.
Yeah.
And then the second thing with that is that the reason why they won is because they got off to an early lead and controlled the time of possession
for
in
sure.
both of those games.
Especially the Patriots game. The way they milked that clock was insane. Insane. I've never seen anything like that before.
You're not going to be able to milk the clock very much with a guy like Derrick Henry, who's not a possession dump it off to him sort of back.
well, and the other problem is, so a big part of a lot of schemes over all the years in the NFL is, control the ball, run clock out, good defense. The Titans' defense isn't great. I mean, it's okay.
It's
Good.
a middle of the pack defense.
It had
like-
names. It wasn't.
It has names. It has more names.
They have
Yeah.
names who were so underrated for so long that they've now become overrated. Like the safety, Byard.
Ryan.
Byard was so underrated for
Yeah.
so long that now people want to call him the best safety in the league when he's not. He
Not-
probably was 2
Not-
years ago. But I mean, they have
Jarrell
flaws
Casey.
on their team.
Terrell Casey too. Yeah.
Yeah.
You're right.
Well, they have people on the team who are like bigger names for Tennessee, but at their peak, Tennessee is maybe the 10th best defense in the league. At their best.
If
Flip of what I said. If you get up on Tennessee 7-0, 10-0,
they have to throw.
10-0.
They won't
Nothing
feel-
feels like you won.
it is over.
Yeah.
Game's over. You act like people like to act like that's the case against Baltimore. Not true. You get 13 points on Tennessee. You get toward the mid-second quarter. You can turn the game off.
Yeah.
Right now. They're not.
It's like in soccer when if you go up against a team with a terrible offense, you score once, you park the bus, you're done. That's all teams have to do. You score once against Tennessee, load the box with 8, make Ryan Tannehill beat you on non-play action passes.
There you
It's
go.
not going to work.
There you go.
It's Tannehill is a lot like Foles a couple of years ago. It's gadget sort of plays. It's the play actions. It's the RPOs. That's how they're going to beat you. He doesn't beat you. Their playbook beats you, and you realize what they keep going to. It's over.
Exactly. I agree.
Well, and I don't think their playbook is necessarily like incredible. I think
Like,
it's
they like what they did was they ran the same things over and over
and they
over.
did it very well. But also, people now have more film on you. Like you can have as much film on you want as Patrick Mahomes and Lamar Jackson. It doesn't matter. They're gonna still do other things that you can't stop. If you watch Ryan Tannehill and you watch Derrick Henry and that offense, if you get film, you can stop it. They're not going to do
For sure.
anything exceptional besides maybe like one incredible run from Henry.
Yeah.
But I think that was a huge, huge mistake from them buying into a core that had one good season, and they were like, "Yep, this is it. We have no other options. We have to go." Like for good. Like if you don't pay Tannehill, and let's say Dak hits the open market after this year,
Boom.
Dak is you could pay Dak probably the same amount of money for the most part as Tannehill, and he's margins better.
For sure. For sure. Yeah.
And
You know-
I mean, here the thing with also Tennessee is they're built like in the way they run their offense, similar to how the Patriots have like a few years ago with that run first or to go off of play action, and similar to how the 49ers ran their offense, but like a little slower. But here's the big difference with Tennessee and those other teams. Tennessee has an offense designed that they need a good top tier tight end. They don't have that guy.
They don't
Delaney
have
Walker, no.
Again,
And
Delaney Walker is another guy that was so underrated for so long that he is now overrated.
Yeah.
You put a guy like Kittle, a guy like Ertz, a guy like Andrews on the Titans, we're having a different conversation. I think
For
we can all
sure.
agree. I think we can all agree. But they don't have a possession tight end that can move the chains consistently, and that is a guy that a Tannehill would need.
I agree. 100% agree.
Yeah.
That's
Well,
it.
I don't think they're winning the division. Honestly, they might sneak in as a wild card team just because the Jaguars blew it up and the Texans, who knows what Bill O'Brien's doing? He needs to get fired for what he's doing.
The
Who
Colts
knows
are
what
winning.
they're doing, too.
I think we'd be 4 for 4 if we said that right now. The Colts
What?
are winning. The Colts are winning that division.
I'm still a little wary because I have a lot less faith in Phillip Rivers than a lot of other people do.
It's
That
either
man
Colts or the
last year was a
Texans.
turnover machine.
I had this debate the other night too. It's just he has great weapons. I'm not 100% sold on him yet, but looking at the upside to it, his weapons are pretty decent now.
He had good weapons in
this is-
LA.
This is my thing. He has
Honestly,
weapons that are on par with LA, but he has such a better offensive line.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And the running backs that we have too, he doesn't have to throw the ball every single time too. With Mack and now Jonathan Taylor, like it could be fun. It could be fun. If Phillip performs somewhat good, it could be nice.
I think their whole season rides on Phillip Rivers.
Rivers can upgrade from Brissett in any way, shape, or form.
For
They
sure.
win.
Except for containing the ball. Rivers is a gunslinger. Brissett was much more contained.
Play it safe and just
Yeah.
throw it to the sideline.
Which,
Rivers is
that's-
chucking it 50 yards downfield.
Yeah, I
If he
mean,
can still do that
people
now.
have their things. Like some people like gunslingers more. Some people like I'm more accustomed to liking gunslingers. But when you turn it over at the rate that Phillip Rivers did, then it starts to become a little scary.
And he has the right coach with his type of play style. Like Reich wants to be able to throw the ball downfield. Like you saw it when Luck was with Reich 2 years ago. You know, they were actively throwing downfield when they had to.
And they have experience together already too. So there's already a connection there between Rivers and Reich. So
yeah, the team that I think can catch them is Houston, not because I like anything that Houston has done.
Well,
but
Houston,
Deshaun Watson is special. Like he's so good.
Well, that's the thing. He has the capability of making everyone better around him, but the worrisome headache of, oh dear God, DeAndre Hopkins is going to burn us for 2 touchdowns and 100+ yards, that's gone.
it's gone.
You know, that's gone for the Colts. They don't have to worry about that anymore.
We got to watch out. Kenny Stills is there now, right?
Yes, he is.
I have a feeling he's going to break out this year. That's someone we need to watch out for. Kenny Stills. I don't know why. I just feel like if they put him at 1 or 2, I don't know, with Will Fuller, I guess Kenny Stills is your number 1 now?
Yeah.
Well, again, the problem is, though, with having a guy like Fuller and Stills is they both run the same route really good. It's the deep route.
Yeah, just running
And that's mostly it. DeAndre was the one who was doing all the in and outs and all the posts and the corners. Yep. He knew the route tree.
Yeah.
Now they need to ask probably, I would assume Fuller would be the guy that would need to learn the route tree because he's the younger one. But Fuller's always hurt. So that's the other problem.
I don't think that Watson is on the same level as Mahomes, Jackson, Russell Wilson. People
right underneath it, like literally right underneath it.
I would put him at probably, but I wouldn't put him lower than 6. You cannot put him lower than 6.
But his 2 really signature games last year. Last year was the season that a lot of people really thought that he went into his own. His 2 was week 1 against the Saints. I think you guys remember that game, the first Monday Night Football game.
Yeah.
And then his win in the playoffs against the Bills. Those 2 games, he was mediocre to solid for the entire game and made one or two big throws both times and bailed himself out and bailed the team out. That is what Deshaun Watson, I think, is as a quarterback. He will show these flashes 2-3 times a game, and it could be enough to win a game, but he's not consistently every single drive going to bring, I think, that caliber every time out.
The only problem that I have with that statement is I think Watson is special. I think the degree of inconsistency a lot comes from the coaching. I think the play calling, especially in that Bills game, the Bills game I remember very, very thoroughly, the play calling was so terrible.
Bills should have won that game.
They absolutely
They were up 17-0, and the Texans were still calling run plays. Like, it was absolutely asinine to me. Like, it was just so bad. And I've said this before to you guys, I don't have any sympathy for a player who could leave and doesn't. Yeah. Like, who can leave a bad situation and chooses not to. So if Deshaun Watson decides to resign, that's where my sympathy for him ends. But see, because now you've decided that you're pairing yourself to a terrible GM/coach.
But even then, at the same time, Watson is the most important position on the entire team. He could easily just force his way out. You know?
Oh, he can leave and them do nothing about. I mean, he can sit out a franchise tag if he wants to.
Well, that's the thing. He can sit on 2 franchise tags. They're not going to tag him a third time because they have to pay him an insane amount of money. He can just sit out and be like, all right, I'm done. Or he could just say, trade me. I'm not playing. You know, because you're gonna listen to the quarterback.
Yeah.
He's next up to get paid too.
Yeah.
Oh, Watson is next to get paid. He won't get as much money as Mahomes or Jackson. I don't think he should. He's definitively probably at least the 4th best quarterback in the league. But there is a gap between the top 3 and then the next group. Because, I mean, as of right now, the way Mahomes looks, he could be the best quarterback we've ever seen. Russell Wilson is going to go down as probably, in my opinion, the best dual threat that we've ever seen.
Pretty up there.
And Lamar Jackson is just a video game player put into real life.
Lamar's just getting started, too.
Lamar is everything that I think people thought Vic was going to be until, the dogfighting ring and everything happened. Lamar is that, but I think going to be better because he's with a better organization and a better coach.
And you've seen Lamar from year 1 to year 2 improve so much.
You know, that was the biggest thing people were knocking him too, was he has to learn how to sit in the pocket and pass. He learned how to throw. You know, it's not that he didn't know how to. He just needed receivers that actually got open and, actually caught the ball. Granted, the playoff game against the Chargers, he overthrew a lot, right? But, with the addition of Mark Ingram, he doesn't even have to throw either. And when he does throw now, he's going to have receivers wide open because they're all playing the run.
Yeah.
And they just got J.K. Dobbins in the draft.
Yeah.
So that also helps.
The Ravens are fine. But, we're, at least 3 of us here are all avid Madden players. Joe thinks, video games are the lowest form of entertainment possibly.
Yes, admitted that Madden was a bad video game.
Absolutely.
Movies were the lowest form.
Nobody's saying Madden is a good game. Don't worry. Nobody's saying
it.
We have nothing else better to do. The Madden ratings for the players started coming out, and some positions are fucked up. Some players are a lot lower than they should be, and some are a lot higher than they should be.
Yep.
Any initial ones grind your gears a little bit, boys? Yes, Joseph, you're raising your hand.
My hand dotted up first because you look at Trey White's stats and Stephon Gilmore's stats, mirror images of each other. And Gilmore was a 99. Again, deservedly so. Not saying he's not. But what did Trey White get?
89.
He was like 89,
I think.
Yeah. There you go. So enjoy.
Oh, it was bad. They did the safeties dirty.
How's Harrison Smith the top-rated safety?
Jamal is a 92 overall. In my opinion, Jamal's the best safety in the league.
Yes, he is.
Okay.
He has been since he came into the league.
Thank you. Some Old Bridge fellas the other night were trying to say that he wasn't, but he's a 92 overall. That's disgusting. And Minka's nowhere in the top 10 too.
Minka's not even in the top 10. That's a
But
joke.
he's not in either corner or safety.
And TJ Watt's not in the top 10.
TJ Watt is an 86 overall.
Okay,
JJ Watt is a 98.
They gave that out of respect to him for like the defensive player of the year.
They keep doing that.
I know they can't.
They've had
John-
JJ Watt as such a good player every year, even though he gets injured every single year.
Like, he's played like 10 games in the past 3 years.
JJ Watt the respect of a 20-year vet who's going on a retirement tour every single year. It has to wear off at some point. He has not been dominant in 3 years.
No.
Yeah. Another cool thing is Aaron Donald is slowly climbing up the chain of being having the most 99 overalls in Madden. He's slowly getting there. He's number 4 on the list right now. 1 is Peyton Manning with 6. 2 is Ray Lewis with 5. 3 is Tom Brady with 4, and then Aaron Donald's right there at 4.
Tom Brady in 90 overall is laughable.
I think he'll break Peyton's
record. Oh, no. Brady, the last time he was in 99 was, 26?
3 years ago?
Maybe?
His MVP
year. The GOAT edition. The GOAT edition one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Another. So, like Steven said, Minka is nowhere on the top 10 safety list.
Yeah.
So if somebody wants to be like, oh, well, maybe he's only had one good year. Justin Simmons is a 90.
Isn't that the point of this game coming out every year is to update it each year? Like, the one good year is the point of this game.
Last year's standing. Exactly.
Earl Thomas is an 88.
Yeah.
There's a big gap in the running backs, too. Like, the number 1 running back's McCaffrey, who got the 99, and the number 2, Derrick Henry, at a 93. Like, that big gap of just nothing from 94 to 98 is just... I think they could have upped up. Saquon's a 91. I know he was hurt, but he's better than a 91.
That's a little low. If you told me I could have Saquon Barkley or Derrick Henry, I know who I'm taking.
Yeah, for sure. Saquon.
Yeah, and who the hell knows what the football season is going to look like, because the whole thing is that they update it throughout the season. So these could be their overalls for a while, but who knows with Madden, because they will probably fuck something up.
Yeah.
Which they've already slowly started to do. Good thing, Clarke, you've already pre-ordered it, right?
Oh, baby.
You already threw EA your money.
They didn't take it out yet, but they will soon.
Oh, baby.
Yeah, I did. But I just need something to play, because I have nothing to play right now. So when that comes out, I'll be happy in a month.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then 2K comes out like 5 days later.
Okay, that fucking pre-order method of just somehow screwing people out, it doesn't make sense.
Who knows? Honestly, who knows what it is?
How you have to, in order to get, I think it's if you get the Kobe edition on current gen, you get the cheap edition on next gen. But
yes, with an additional 100K VC.
Yes. Then if you get the massive Kobe edition on next gen, which you can't even fucking pre-order yet, you then get the Dame cover on this one. But then the shit is completely 2 different games, so nothing cross-pass.
But now they're saying that you can cross over. But the way I understand it is that these are 2 different games.
Yes, that's what
so if
they're
these are 2 different games, that means nothing would cross over. But I've now seen people saying the best thing to get is the Froby version, the young version.
So
and I'm like, wait,
version?
Yes. And I'm like, wait, but why? Why is that? I'm going to play mostly on the next gen. And some people are saying that it's going to switch over. But then my favorite part is that the 2K developers are just like, guys, it's not hard. Come on.
Yeah, it's only a bar chart that goes like here. And they're like, yeah, if it's coming soon. It says it's coming soon. It's obviously coming soon. It's been 3 weeks. Put a date on the thing.
Right? Come on. Get yourself together.
God, I just find it as a cash grab in order for them to get more money out of people.
It's always a cash grab.
It's a trick for sure.
Yeah, it's a mess. Speaking of the NBA, though. What?
Oops. I was thinking on video games. Not say anything new in the show.
A 99 James Paxton came out today because there has been no baseball, they've been fishing for content, so they've been reusing Player of the Month but buffing them up to this game's like standards and rankings. So they've actually been doing a great job with no content and no baseball. They've actually been, reusing and coming up with shit. So if there's no football season, Madden's not doing anything.
Yeah.
Since they just stopped caring on this game 5 weeks ago.
Dead. It's literally ever since the 13th when they stopped.
Why are they going to make a game that come out then every 12 months to stop supporting it 9.5 months in?
Stupid.
Money.
No, obviously money.
Money and not caring enough.
Yeah, well, we talked about 2K a little bit. So the NBA, the bubbles, it's happening. You know,
They're in the bubble.
Some players were not too happy with the bubble, calling the Grand Floridian and Disney hotels Motel 6 and bitching about their food. That's a little tone deaf at times,
Yeah.
What, Joe? What was the face?
All right, I think you gotta chill out a little bit. I think that yes, they signed up to this bubble thing, probably assuming that this was going to be a pleasant experience, that the NBA was going to take care of them, and if their expectations are met, if you were an NBA player, wouldn't you expect them to kind of roll out the red carpet for this whole thing?
Yes, but here's the thing: it just started. And they're a week in. If you have complaints, you don't need to go on Twitter. Look what's going on around the rest of the world. People are unemployed, and they're getting paid to go stay in Disney for 3 months and play basketball. If they have, here's the thing: if they have legitimate issues, legitimate gripes, say the food doesn't meet their dietary standards or whatever it is to stay in best shape to play basketball, just go. I'm sure there are union reps and people running the thing you can talk to.
Yeah, they can order food too. They just can't go out to get it. Once it has to be delivered to their hotel, and then they can pick it up from there. They just can't leave the area.
That's the thing. It's just read the room. Just read the room, and if you have issues, you don't need to go public with it.
They have the money to order the food every day. They don't have to eat the food if they don't want to. They're
Yeah. Now, speaking of the bubble, it's very wishy-washy of how much of a bubble it actually is, because the players can't really leave, but the employees of of Disney, they can.
Yeah, they're working in different spots,
which
players had a problem with.
Yes,
understandably so.
Which could potentially, lead to an outbreak, for whatever reason. If a whole team gets it, do they just eliminate that team from the playoffs then and just say, go home?
Yeah.
Because what do you do at that point?
I mean, hey, look at what the Nets are doing.
Yeah,
they're just making them sign substitutes.
Their replacements are even getting COVID.
Yes.
Even Michael Beasley, who tested positive for it, who still would have to serve a suspension.
5-game suspension, baby.
If they have to pause for any reason, say it's a multiple team outbreak or whatever, they can't come back from that.
They can't come back.
That would kill it. They'd be
they're already on such a tight timeline.
Yeah.
Because they're still expecting this to maybe end by September, October-ish. Then they want to come back and start Christmas
in December. That's crazy. That's
like a 2-month. You don't have a 2-month window. You can't push this back anymore.
They should have picked it up where they left off. They were further enough away from the playoffs that you could make the art you could say that the season was just suspended from here on out and you just focus on next season, because you take the sport with the least amount of downtime in between season to season, and then you shorten that even more by having them come back, and then all of a sudden you have 2 seasons now where the record book is fucked up rather than just the one.
I think the biggest reason, especially for them coming back, it's got to be how this impacts the legacy as well. Because you can't just throw out a year that one of the top 3 players of all time is still contending for a championship.
Okay, but they were perfectly fine when Michael Jordan retired. The league.
Well, that's a totally different. That's a totally different thing, though. Jordan retired himself. If LeBron and the Lakers look like they're going to be the favorite, and then you're just actually, we're getting rid of the season.
At the end of the day, that Michael Jordan left in this, it's almost, it would be the same effect. Obviously, 2 different executions, but the effect would be you're losing a year of greatness in a championship.
Well, yeah, but Michael Jordan picked that. He decided he wanted to retire. You don't know. Well, yeah, I mean, but it happened.
It did happen, exactly. But at the same time, the league went on just fine. And also, if there was a league who could survive with having their like off season and all the free agent frenzy in the middle of a pandemic. I mean, imagine if we're all locked at home and then they end the NBA season and all of a sudden Woj and Shams are coming out and we're finding
Well, not Woj.
Free
Woj
Woj.
right now.
Free Woj.
You know
Hashtag free
what I'm
Woj.
saying. You know what
Yeah.
I'm saying though.
Yeah.
Well, but in the same degree, if they do shorten this offseason to like 2 months, I'm excited. Because there's not going to be a day that some news does not come out. Like,
For
you
sure.
You have the draft and free agency all like shoved into 2 months.
Yeah.
And that's really all you need because NBA free agency is done within 2 hours.
For
You
the
know.
most part. Well, I mean, usually players take a little bit longer. Durant didn't join until the 3rd. Or, well, it was reported
2
on
days.
the 2nd, but yeah.
And also it just came out today, too, that Zion has to leave the bubble. A lot of people believe, too, the reason why the Pelicans got in was because they just wanted to show off Zion.
Yeah.
So, he had to leave for family matters. No one knows, hope everything's okay. But, if he comes back, since he leaves, shouldn't he have to then quarantine? If that's the case, then
Yes.
that almost then takes out the 8 weeks at that point. And then the Pelicans, they're not going to be a playoff team at that point. So then if the NBA was trying to get him on prime time and get, eyeballs on TVs to watch him, that plan kind of just, went out the window.
Well, and especially, we already seen how it backfired early on in the regular season when they had all these Pelicans games on national TV that Zion wasn't playing.
They had like 10 or 12. Like, it
was
a lot.
So many.
A lot.
It was too many.
Too many. Yeah, I agree. Ugh. Crazy stuff.
Yeah. I mean, I think the NBA did make a mistake letting 22 teams come into the bubble.
Yeah, they
just cut it. Like,
they should have done 20.
Yeah.
Honestly, they should have.
Realistically, the Wizards should not have been invited, especially if Beal's not playing, which he's not.
They should have just done the 8 playoff teams. Let them have a few like exhibition games if it impacts seeding. Just get back into game rhythm, and then just go into it. Give like preseason games. Don't go NHL and just go right into the playoffs. I don't understand how you have someone 5 months off and just be like, go compete for a title.
Go compete for a championship.
They should have just given them 4 or 5, like ramp up games and then just go into it. The whole let's add teams was bullshit. Let's be honest. It was money and ratings at that point.
Yeah.
Because the fact that there were 5 additional West teams and only 1 in the East.
1 East. Yeah.
That was dumb.
Yeah.
But that's me.
No, you're right.
Joe, you got anything you want to talk about?
I got nothing. I'm just, I'm very interested. In my heart of hearts, it doesn't feel to me still like we're going to be getting sports back in a week or two.
Agreed.
Still doesn't seem real, and I also would not be surprised if
it gets canned right away.
I really don't see both, or I guess all 3 of the NHL, MLB, and NBA having complete championships. I just don't see that happening.
Which one do you think has the best shot at completing a season?
Honestly,
NHL. I think NHL.
I think
you're watching, so it's not a big deal.
I think the NBA has set up the best bubble.
Mm-hmm.
I do think it will end up being broken, but I do think they have set up the best bubble.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Mostly because they have the most resources. If you took the NBA's resources and gave them to the NHL, it'd be insane.
Yeah.
What they would do.
The MLB has too many possibilities with teams traveling.
Oh,
They're the bottom. They're the bottom for sure.
The MLB season is either getting shut down or it is going to be suspended within the next 2 months. Easily.
And see, I don't see them suspending it just because they'll have so much egg on their face then. If they went this long for them to just get 60 games and have to fold, it's such a bad optic for Manfred. If they truly just wanted to play 60 games, that's it. They should just told the players, this is what we're doing, and they should just play the entire summer and finish in September.
Yeah.
And just be done first week of September and just be done with it at that point. And that's why it's amazing. You see all these leagues. Basically, you kind of see every option possible for the NFL to kind of work with. Either a 2-city bubble, single city bubble, fuck it, everyone's just home bubble, right? Type of thing. And if the NFL is not even working on an alternate plan, that's going to be brutal.
I don't think the NFL should happen. It's the league that has the most that goes into it, the most people. It's going to be impossible.
What do you mean? They got rid of jersey swaps. Everything's safe.
Yeah, that'll cure and prevent COVID. Did you see the Oakley face mask?
60 minutes.
Yeah.
Of a jersey.
It doesn't do anything, those face masks. They have all holes still. It's like...
Yeah.
I don't know.
And maybe Antonio Brown will like the new helmet.
Like, Clarke, you were an offensive lineman. You're literally breathing on top, like, in front of each other. Like, and spitting on each other half the time. Like, there's too much bodily transmission potential.
Literally, when you're blocking someone, you're literally face mask to face mask with someone, like, right in front of you. And it's not going to work out. I don't know what they're going to do. They're going to can the season, probably, if we're being honest.
And you had some teams that are saying, 25% fans in the stands. Like,
no fans. Gotta be no fans.
And then you have Philadelphia, who's like, no one's coming to Phillies games, no one's coming to Eagle games. But, the difference between, like, the NBA and the MLB, most NFLs, almost basically all of the NFL fields are sunken down and away from the fans, Yeah. So would having fans really at the stadium impact the teams as much? Because even from where they're sitting to the sideline is a good 40 feet, maybe.
Yeah.
Well, it impacts it in the degree that you now have to add more. Yeah, you have to add more employees now. You have to open concessions. You have to have ticket vendors. You have to do all that. So, I mean, it makes. And I mean, they're not even really doing a bubble for the most part, but it makes the bubble much bigger to a degree that it's going to be more realistic to burst. But, I mean, the NFL, there's going to be too many players. Somebody's going to get COVID, and it's going to go to a superstar. And the only way they're going to roll with it is if they're just like, yeah, you have COVID, you're out 2 weeks. See you in 2 weeks.
See you in 2 weeks.
But the only way they're going to not do anything is if, God forbid, somebody like gets it and passes away, or gets it and says like they cannot play the rest of the year.
And the thing with the NFL, why I think they're avoiding a single season bubble at all costs, is money.
For sure.
Yeah.
What's the allure of red zone? Watching every single game all at once. And if you're in a bubble, what city has 16 football fields that you could broadcast and play games simultaneously with?
Well, Old Bridge has a couple. Maybe they can come here.
But it's virtually impossible. And the NFL, out of all the leagues, is too money driven that they're not going to risk losing any revenue.
Mm-hmm.
It's as simple as that.
No, you're right.
And they're like, yeah, we'll cut 2 preseason games. Cut all of them. There's no point.
There's no point. Literally no point.
I don't know. It could be tough. Playbooks, injuries, no preseason. Yikes. I'd be afraid to watch week one. Week one will be bad.
Oh, it will be bad football. Because training camp, who knows, if they can't like actually hit each other, if it's just like walkthroughs or just game planning, how are you going to be able to do that?
Oh, God.
Because we've seen football and more injuries increase and the quality of football decrease since players, obviously they don't want more contact, which is fine. You don't want to get injured before the game. But it's like less contact practice is going to make it rougher.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, and we've seen the regression in offensive linemen over the years because of the way they've gotten rid of contact in practices. Like, the offensive linemen coming out of the draft have never been worse because the first year that even the first like 2-3 years in the NFL, they can't hit until they're literally in the game. And then those defensive ends and defensive linemen that they're going up against, they're mauling them. Yeah. I mean, you're talking about offensive linemen who look like busts in their first year or two, and then if they get a chance in maybe their 4th year, they don't look as bad. I'll use Bowles as an example in Denver. You put him at tackle, he was getting mauled every single down. They switch him to a guard eventually, now he's serviceable. Eric Flowers on the Giants. He was so bad they cut him. And now, he's got a job somewhere else where he can actually be a viable starter. We've taken contact out of the practices. It has regressed the offensive linemen that come into the league so much. And I think going into this year, besides like some of the real big impact rookies that were gonna make an impact no matter what, we are gonna see a lot of rookies probably not get much playing time because they're
Probably.
not gonna understand the schemes. They're not gonna have contact practices. They're not gonna be able to really talk to the coaches as much and everything because of the restrictions. So expect a really light rookie draft class this year, as opposed to probably a lot more players being better next year than usually what would happen.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Cool.
Clarke, you want to touch on Extreme Rules before we wrap up, or the
Horror
horror show at
Yeah.
Extreme Rules?
A horror show.
Horror show at Extreme Rules.
It really
It's
could
a horror
be,
show.
It really could be a bad pay-per-view.
It's just there's some good stuff, but majority of the stuff is just at best. So the swamp. Are you talking about the swamp match or whatever the hell they're calling it?
Okay.
The Wyatt Swamp fight.
There's no reason to bring back old Bray. First of all, I know they have a history.
It's to make the
but-
story longer.
It's the 3 stages of Bray match is basically what it's
Yes.
going to be.
Yeah.
Yes.
But I don't know. I'm just not sold on it yet. I've never been sold on Braun as champ, even if it's 100 days after he won it now. It's just,
And he's defended
Braun-
once?
Braun was only champ because
Roman backed out.
Roman had to leave.
Roman had to leave.
And we all know that. Like, no, it's not a secret. They have fumbled the bag with Braun so many times.
Too many times.
And then they finally like gave it to him when nobody really cared anymore. There were so many. They should have built him up in so many different ways, and they just didn't. It just never mattered.
But, yeah.
My
no.
main critique of this match is that it is a non-title match. So that
That's what's killing me.
automatically means Bray is winning.
Bray's winning,
Yeah.
exactly.
Bray is going to win.
Turns me off completely to it. Like, I don't care.
If
on the-
Strowman wins, why in the world would I ever care about Bray Wyatt?
Exactly.
He lost his own match.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But on the flip side of that, though, I'm loving McIntyre's reign, if I'm being honest with that.
McIntyre's reign's been good.
I think he's been phenomenal as champion, and even like this little feud with Dolph, all of a sudden they're bringing back their tag team they used to have. Dolph always gets like one title match every year, somehow, some way.
Yeah.
It's written into his contract.
Yeah,
I
probably.
swear.
At this point, I'm like, oh God, please don't be the one he actually wins. Like,
There is a negative 20% chance that Dolph Ziggler wins.
well, but see, it's always
Totally.
like this could be the one but it's always against people I like who are like as champion. I'm like, please don't take it
Like,
off them now.
It was Kofi last year. It's Drew this
Yeah.
year. It's people that we want to like.
Ambrose a couple of years ago.
Yeah, Ambrose. Yeah. It's like people that we want to see beat Dolph, but it'd be cool for Dolph to one time hold it, but I don't think this is the time.
I think Drew and Dolph could be a good match. I don't think it's going to be. I think Drew is going to destroy him. I think that's the thing they're going to do, especially because allegedly Vince does want shorter pay-per-views
Yeah.
Good. Good.
while Corona is going on. So if this card ends up having 6 matches and it goes 2.5 hours,
Fine by me.
think about all the downtime they're going to use. That's around 2 hours for 6 matches. You're at 20 minutes max each. That's including entrances and all that stuff. So
Yeah.
I think they're going to give more time to the wrong matches. Like
And the
Bailey
wrong match-
Nikki Cross is going to go too long. However long it is, it's going to be too long.
The wrong match is going to be what the fuck is the eye for an eye match.
Woo!
This
Oh.
is going to be a disaster
They're putting
waiting
a
to.
lot into this. They're using
So-
CGI and all that.
They're either going to go like full horror movie gore or it's going to look cartoonish.
I think they have to go horror movie gore. They have to.
Here's the thing though. I just hope the CGI isn't bad.
It's not
Like this crappy 3D,
CGI.
the crappy 3D, like when Roman would come in, the digital big dog they put over the crowd, like those look terrible. If it looks like that, oh my God, delete this pay-per-view from the network and just don't acknowledge it existed.
This is Seth's way though of I think
Getting him off
wait
TV.
for a little bit, yeah, because his kids
Yeah.
come in 6 months or so or whatever.
Yeah, he's going away for a while.
Yeah, so that's
Which
fine.
is-
That's his way of.
apparently Ray's contract has also been
He hasn't
up
had a
for
contract. He's been
a
just
long
independently
time.
working,
He's working on a
Yeah.
handshake and a hot dog right now. He's not getting paid for anything.
So
basically.
I feel like Ray has to lose this because
They both have to lose.
they both have to lose.
Yeah.
Maybe that's what they'll do. But guaranteed if Seth loses, they're gonna make him come like when he comes back,
He better have
he's
an
gonna
iPad.
have both eyes.
Yeah.
I think
Oh,
he's
for
just gonna have
sure.
both eyes and they'll just never talk about it.
That's
They'll
why
say-
They'll be like, I got eye reconstructive surgery.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it makes sense in
It's a
story.
replacement, or it's a glass eye or something.
It doesn't make sense in real life, but it makes sense in the crazy world there.
But figure this then: the entirety of Seth's remainder of his career at WWE, he's gonna have to have an eye punched out. Then
Well, that's why I think Ray has to lose because I'm pretty
it's
sure
less
Ray.
likely he'll be with the company. He's gonna be
I
with the company
think
a lot
Ray
less.
and WWE are done.
Yeah.
Until Ray goes into the Hall of Fame, they're done.
Mm.
He came back with the premonition that they were going to make him a big star again, and they didn't.
Nope.
They put no resources.
They gave
into
him a
Ray.
Brock match to get
Again.
eaten by.
Yes. Yeah. That was the biggest thing they did for him was the
To go
Brock match, which
to go
was a
get eaten
joke.
by Brock Lesnar.
Yes. So I feel like I think Ray's going to lose, and then I think Seth is going to come out the next night and be like, I've done my part. I'm taking time off.
Yeah.
The saddest thing about all of this is they did not, and I mean, Seth deserves right to take time off and stuff, especially with Becky being off. But they did not do nearly enough with the Monday Night Messiah,
No.
and it's not what he's going to come back as. He's going to come back babyface, guaranteed.
Yeah.
So
I don't want that.
Just gotta wait and see what happens on Sunday.
Yeah. And then just Asuka Sasha should be fantastic.
Yeah, that'll be a
that's
good match.
another good one, but it's like they built Sasha and Bailey together, and it's like Sasha's just gonna lose again.
She's gonna lose, but maybe Bailey will kind of cost her the match unintentionally or something.
Yeah.
I don't want Asuka to lose the championship. Don't get me wrong there.
No.
But I do think having Bailey and Banks hold all the belts for the women's division
would be
is a
cool.
story that they should have done and they never did.
They're the
Yeah.
most entertaining things on TV right now.
By
They have to
By
capitalize
far.
on
And
it.
that's why they're going to break them up now. Because they're actually good and people want to see them.
I know.
They're actually going to break them up now.
Yeah.
Been teased for 2 years.
Basically. Well, any last closing thoughts before we wrap up episode 1, pilot, test, whatever the fuck this was?
I got nothing.
Nice.
I got nothing.
That was
All
fun.
right, well, I'm not sure when we'll do the next one. Maybe a post Extreme Rules one. Joe obviously will be there with glowing energy if we do that.
Yeah, if you want to do it
Well.
that night or
Yeah, we can do it right after maybe.
Nice.
Yeah, I'd be in for that.
All right, cool. Well,
that's the
thanks
next
for
show.
watching. Yep.